Welcome to A Course in Business Miracles. This is Heather Dominick, creator of BusinessMiracles.com and founder and leader of the highly sensitive entrepreneur movement. Join me today for some genuine practical assistance and a business-altering and life-changing experience, a business miracle. This is A Course in Business Miracles, episode number 67, The Way Through Your HSE Coping Mechanism. Join me as I share how to heal the wounds of the old stories about what it means to be highly sensitive so that you can stop getting caught in your vicious coping cycle and instead learn to shift your energy into creating so that you can thrive in the business you are called to bring into the world. To go further and deeper into our coping mechanism, and most importantly, the way through our coping mechanism is the heart. And I want you to write that down. The way through your coping mechanism is by going into the heart. Each of us wants to believe that we can do it through our head alone, that if we just understand it, that should be enough. And as HSEs, we really can get off on hanging out in the cerebral. But if that's all it took, was understanding it intellectually, none of us would be in this room. We would be through it already. So again, the way through is the heart, because everything that's happening for you in your business is an expression of your relationship with yourself. And that's important to write down too. Everything that's happening with your business is an expression of your relationship with yourself. It's only you believing your thoughts. It's only you believing that you've been wronged in some way in your business, or that you're a victim of your business, or a victim of some other circumstances. But like I said earlier, your business is not happening to you. For each and every one of us, whatever it is that's not working right now in your business is an expression of your relationship with yourself. It's really about how you feel. And it's about the meaning that you make out of how you feel. And when we're in the coping cycle, we're completely unaware of our feelings, right? We're unaware of what's creating them. And we just keep reacting to them. Around and around and around we go. And it's the reaction that brings us into the HSE shadows, that brings us into the coping mechanism, that then has us beating up on ourselves or collapsing and experiencing shame, and then soothing ourselves and justifying that soothing because that's what we need to do because we're highly sensitive and the world just doesn't get us. And then we start to recover, and we start to rebound, and then we're just right back in it the next time around. So it's not enough to just understand it to stop the cycle. It's important to be able to go in and feel it, to feel what it is, how it feels when the trigger is happening, as Karen said so beautifully before. And now here's something that's very interesting as well, is according to the therapist and author Bonnie Badenoch, who she just recently released a new book, and it's titled The Heart of Trauma, Healing the Embodied Brain. And her work is so incredibly fascinating. But one of the things that really stood out to me is that she makes a really strong, bold statement. And what she has to say is that trauma is a relational experience and arises more from our sense of being alone with our pain and fear rather than the actual event itself. I will absolutely say that again. So again, Bonnie Badenoch and her bold statement of trauma is a relational experience and arises more from our sense of being alone with our pain and fear than the event itself. And when I first heard her speak about this, I was like, absolutely. Because it's the being alone that keeps the story going, right? We tell the story over and over again to ourselves. And we tell ourselves what the story means over and over again. And then we experience the feeling of what we believe the story means over and over again. But also in her work is very cool because she talks about how our whole body or various parts of our body have its own brain system. So like, for example, you have your belly brain and you also have your heart brain, which we're going to talk about later. But back to this idea of being alone, right, with the trauma, and then therefore the story, and then therefore the meaning that we've made about the story, and then the feelings that go with the meaning that we've made about the story. And by sharing, not only is it a doorway to healing, but it is the opportunity to be in the consistent practice of feeling your feelings without becoming them. And that is the key in so many ways for those of us who are highly sensitive, is because we will have a feeling, and often it's, again, a trigger of a shadow. It's a trigger into our coping mechanism. It feels so strong because our system, our nervous system, is so overstimulated that we believe everything about this feeling. We believe that this feeling is the be-all and end-all, that this feeling is fact. And then we perpetuate it by giving it meaning and finding things that support that meaning and keep the story going. And again, around and around we go. And there is no way for this to not show up in your business. It is literally impossible to compartmentalize that. Everything that's not working for you in your business right now is about how you are in relationship with yourself. Like Wendy so beautifully said. I think it was really genius for her to language it. I built my business around my coping mechanism. Of course. Deep breath in and let it out. So just a little bit more about the bold statement by Bonnie Badenoch and the research that she has to back it up, and one story that really stuck out to me, which was research that was done about children soldiers in Nepal. So these are children who are sent to war from the ages of 5 to 14. talk about trauma. And the research that was done showed the results of what happened when the children came back from war. And the children who came back from war and entered into a tribe where they were accepted, where they were welcomed, where they could speak about their experience, were able to, if you can say fully, quote unquote, heal the traumatic experience of war and actually go on to create civilized lives for themselves within their tribe. And then those children who came back to a tribe who shunned them and did not welcome them back in, who did not embrace them, who did not give them a chance to talk about their experience, those children basically self-destructed. And so both same traumatic experience, right? One group was able to share and to not hold it and be alone with it, and the other group was forced to hold it alone for themselves. Deep breath in. And so when I heard that, to me, that was additional evidence for what I already know to be true, which is the power for highly sensitives of being in aligned community. Because so many of us are so, from our coping mechanisms and shadows, tuned into, again, that story of wrong and not enough, right? And again, that's how the superego voice will show up. And we, up until now, being a part of aligned community, have had to believe that we are alone with that. How could we ever tell anyone of what we hear inside our heads? How could we ever share that? Who would understand that? And yet already I've heard so much from all of you from yesterday and definitely from looping, how incredibly empowering it is to sit with someone who gets you. And as Karen again so beautifully shared, right? She literally had a visceral shift of a limiting belief just by Sherry's being able to see her. And that is absolutely part of, again, the power for HSEs of being in aligned community. And I would also say it's not just the power, but it is the purpose. So I talk a lot throughout all of the Business Miracles teachings about the importance of community, core practice, and consistency. But community is an act. It's not a place. It is about how you show up. So point being is that you're not alone in this cycle, at least not anymore. And now there's even shared language to be able to use with each other. And not just sharing with each other in the way of, hey, this is what's happening, I'm in soothing, just wanted to let you know, right? But the response too, right? Which is like, hey, where have you gone? I haven't seen you in a while. Or somebody comes on the forum and shares in V&V, and you can respond rather than just, oh, I get you, right? But you can ask, what's going on? What's being triggered here for you? Where are you feeling lack of safety? How is the coping mechanism showing up? And that is one demonstration of the heart. The act of the heart for another through that aligned community. It is the act of the heart as an act of community that the trauma is more traumatic when you stay with it alone. than it is when you have the opportunity to share it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Course in Business Miracles. If you're ready to learn how to use your highly sensitive abilities to support you in being purposeful, profitable, and empowered rather than scattered, poor, and undervalued, take my free self-quiz to find out if you are indeed a highly sensitive entrepreneur. And if you are, along with your quiz results, you'll receive my free HSE Success Guide, which will teach you how to have your highly sensitive abilities working for you to create the results you desire in your business. Take the quiz and receive your free success guide now at www.hsequiz.com.